Hey everybody, welcome to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Mike Catalana along with Dan Fetes. We are underway here for the preseason. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate all of the support. Dan, let's get it started with what everybody's going to be talking about, the punt god.
Yeah, the Bills punting competition is over. It ended about midway through the first half of the first preseason game. That was why, with his 82-yard punt, that is why the Bills drafted him, and that is why they want to do everything they can to get him up to speed with holding, because that is the upside with Matt Araiza that Matt Hawk doesn't have. It's the ability to flip the field in that situation late in the first half to booming punt. And it was funny, we were talking on the sidelines. The Colts special teams coordinator was trying to back up his returner. But because he's a rookie and it was his first punt in the NFL, had no idea he would exceed that. Punted over his head into the end zone for a touchback. But just a phenomenal job, and you're right. It was all the buzz. And after the game, Case Keenum was asked about it. Said we got all geeked up on the sidelines like he had hit a winner. It was just a massive punt.
But he was part of the winner too, because look, even though Coach Smiley, the coordinator for the special team, says punting is more important than holding, holding's important.
Yep.
And he came through, did his job, including on the game-winning kick.
Yeah, phenomenal job. Obviously, I got to see Reed Ferguson after the game. We kind of go out there in the field, and the first person that he was able to find was Araiza, and he goes, they hugged him, and it was a great moment. And he goes, "Where's the kicker?" He goes, "I can't find the kicker," because that was where it was. But it was a great job. A special moment. Bass and Araiza seem kind of glued at the hip. Like, we talk a lot about times about wide receivers and quarterbacks. They're always in each other's ear. Those two guys constantly together.
Yeah, and if you remember, Tyler Bass, huge leg, right? Mm-hmm. And he won that competition. And there were some struggles early on for him, but I think they realized pretty quickly when you have a special talent, you're going to give him a little time and make it work, and obviously it's worked. And I think you're right. I think that's what's going to happen. We don't know specifically how to play out. Maybe they do make a quick decision, but right now that was good. All right, let's get to the game here a little bit. At the end, the Bills win. We'll get to that. Let's start with the offense early on. Case Keenum, we got a chance to talk to him afterward. He didn't look good. The offense did not look good at all, especially in the first half. It's backup players. It is the case. I think Keenum's response to that was he took ownership for the turnovers, but pretty much said, it's the preseason. It is a little bit rough out there.
Yeah, what he said that it counts to him and that's how he rolls, but obviously wasn't putting too much stock in the preseason. Yeah, offensive line play was shaky at best. A guy like Jake Kumaro, who was last year's training camp darling with a fumble. Case didn't get the ball out one. Another one, he was off to Crowder. It looked disjointed. I think Sean McDermott talked about it after the game, saying the fact of there were times when, for Ken Dorsey, just wasn't going. He couldn't get right. But he said they kind of got in a rhythm in the second half. Mike, I think that was a big part. It's the Colts backups too.
Yeah.
The Colts played a lot of their starters for most of the first half. So you had the Bills backups against the Colts first team. But eventually they got it going and got the win.
Yeah, I'll tell you who looked good from the first pass thrown, basically through the whole time he was on the field. Khalil Shakir, that kid, he just looks like he belongs.
Inside and outside. I think that's the big thing. We always kind of pegged him as maybe he's the slot wide receiver, but I think they like Isaiah McKenzie. I think they have depth with Jamison Crowder. I think they want to move him all around, and he showed the ability to do both. I think that was impressive for first game, and Sean McDermott says he kind of just has a knack, a natural feel. And like I said, we've talked about him before, that he has stood out at training camp. He's one of the guys that's been making plays, and he just looks smooth and comfortable.
Yeah, and I think he has a confidence, but I don't sense a cockiness.
No.
Look, you need a lot of confidence to play this game.
Guy.
But he is, but at the same time, I think he thinks things through. I think Sal Mayorano asked him a question about what's the difference between inside and outside, and his answer was not what I expected. He was like, I prepare for wherever they want me to be, which is kind of what Gabe Davis did coming in, and then all of a sudden it's like he feels confident and comfortable. Just like the way he moves. I like the way he catches the ball. Again, it's still the preseason. We keep saying this. It was mini camp, and then it's training camp, and now it's the preseason. But he has shown that. Defensively, they started the 2 draft picks.
Yes.
And you just did a story with Christian Bernard, and then you also
Christian
have
Benford.
Benford. Oh, I keep going to say that. And then we've got Kaiir Elam, both out there. But the way those two guys talk. Now, one was a first-round pick,
One's a
and
sixth.
Benford's a 6th-round pick. But they speak with I asked Sean McDermott about this, where they don't sound wide-eyed. They don't say they're excited about the opportunity, but it isn't like they think it's too big.
Yeah.
But this still isn't the regular season yet, and this is against good players. But you're going to start maybe lining up against the Rams in a few weeks. I think they have a lot of confidence, and I think it's warranted up to this point because at each step, I think they've done what's been asked of them.
To me, I'm on the sideline, so I'm only seeing bits and pieces. I didn't get to see. You're looking at everything through a lens piece. I thought Benford looked better than Kyer.
Yeah, maybe.
I think Kyer had a couple growing pains, but you're also going to. That is Kyer's game. He is grabby. He is holdy. He is going to be that physical guy. But neither of them looked overmatched. For Benford, he's going up against Michael Pittman, who's a starting wide receiver in the NFL in his first game, and he didn't seem to be overmatched. Or, and he has this confidence. You learn about Christian Benford's life if you look into it. Tragedy after tragedy, coming out of Baltimore, shootings at his high school games. He has no fear. He talks about it doesn't matter who lines up next to you. He goes, I'm Christian Benford, and I'm going to shut you down. Like, he has that. You talk about swagger. It's not boastful.
Yeah.
It's a quiet. I think you talk about Kyer, you talk about Benford, you talk about Shakir. A lot of those guys fit this mold. They have some chip on their shoulder, but they have this confidence that I can play with anybody.
Yeah, and that's what I asked McDermott about that, and he gave, I thought, a really telling answer when he said these are guys who have confidence in that, but they also have respect for their veteran teammates. They go to them, they listen, they take on that, which they're going to need because, the competition and what's expected of them ramps up. Now, speaking of draft picks, a big play for the defense early. I thought it was great to see Boogie Basham make a play in year 2.
And Boogie, after the game, talking about how things slowed down for him, that he said he felt like the play, like he understands the playbook. It's all the buzzwords you hear at training camp. I feel more comfortable. I understand the system more. But it showed. Those are the flash plays that I've wanted to see out of Boogie. Guys like AJ. AJ had a couple nice run stops I like to see. But yeah, those were the guys that you need to step up. And I think that gives you the confidence too. I think Boogie, a guy trying to get his footing, trying to get his place where he belongs in this defense, plays like that kind of get you to think, okay, I can do this.
Bernard made a big play, splash play.
From a middle linebacker in this economy. It happens. I thought he was all over the place. Braylon Spector was another guy.
I said it. I must have tweeted 4 times. We're saying is he was around the ball. I noticed him way more than I guess maybe he's not that flashy of a player, but man, he was all over the place.
And again, both of those guys, they talk about so much about Tremaine Edmonds and his control of the huddle and the way he gets guys in and out. And I was watching a lot how Bernard and Spector, both of them were calling the plays, both rookies. They're already putting a lot on their plate. I think if they wanted to ease them in, they wouldn't necessarily need them to call plays. They could have Tyler Medikevich or somebody else call the plays. They want those 2 rookies doing it. I think they're excelling at it. I think Bernard, that's a huge splash play. You would have thought the Bills won a Super Bowl the way that they reacted to that. So great moment from there. And again, Braylon Spector, 7th round pick, he flashed as just a guy that plays with his hair on fire all over the place.
Yeah, it was impressive to see that. Look, again, it was sloppy, but the Bills just find a way.
It was preseason football.
Oh, man. 20 penalties. There was a missed extra point, and like I said, and by the way, there was like 5 times they went for it on 4th down, so it felt like every time we were turning around, offense was leaving the field, defense was coming on without a kick because there was either a turnover. Bills had 5 turnovers in the game. Yep. That was a problem. I know we're a week away for the next game, but just quickly, do you think we're going to see the starters? Do you think we're going to see them next week? I'm sitting there looking at Josh Allen and Von Miller and all these guys on the sidelines. Right now, if you're guessing, do we see them next week?
No. I think they're okay.
You think maybe we see them on the road?
I think maybe you see them on the road because you still then have that week before the game. I know it's the Thursday game. I don't know how much that would play into it. Also, just kind of, there are just a couple of times where you're just holding your breath. Kyer Elam gets, knocked in the head, goes into the tent, and, he ends up being okay. It was just precautionary. But still, the fact of the preseason, the blue tent being opened up in the preseason, made me go, I'm all good.
Yeah, you know what it is, too? There's so many players going on and off. There's so much, craziness that goes on. There's 90 players on each side. I just want to see Josh Allen with his hat on the sidelines. I think he'll be fine when the regular season starts.
He got reps in early with the fans, throwing the football around. He looked great. And so I'm with you there. And it was crazy to me when I'm looking at Quentin Nelson and Matt Ryan and a lot of these guys. Everybody played pretty much besides Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Fascinating to me to see that side. Whereas the Bills, it's like we joked around. Could you bubble wrap the starters now and ship them to LA?
Yeah. I mean, that may be the plan. We'll wait to see what Sean McDermott says. I think Josh Allen said he's open for whatever, but he sort of hinted that there were maybe no games. So we'll see. But you want him ready for LA, and you know he'll be ready for LA. We'll be ready too. But we got plenty of time between now and then. Bills get back to work this week, get ready for their game coming up next week. Back here on a 1 o'clock start here in Orchard Park. For Dan Fetes, who's here with me, Jenna Cottrell back in our studios. I'm Mike Catalana. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All good? All good. We'll see you next time on Buffalo Plus.
Broncos next. Let's ride.